Ladies and gentlemen, there comes a moment when waiting becomes a curse and hesitation becomes betrayal. You see, success never belongs to the one who wants it. It belongs to the one who works for it. Not when it feels good, not when it's easy, but every single day, brick by brick. Success is not an inheritance, nor is it a reward handed out to the lucky. It is a structure, carefully crafted, intentionally designed, and deliberately built through persistence, resilience, and discipline. Every ounce of greatness you see in someone's life is the result of unseen labor, sleepless nights, and silent struggles. The world loves to applaud outcomes, but rarely appreciates the effort it takes to produce them. Success doesn't arrive as a package on your doorstep. It's not something you stumble upon. You build it day by day, action by action, brick by brick. The ones who win are not always the smartest, the fastest, or the most talented. The ones who win are those who show up when it's boring, who show up when it's hard, who show up when it seems pointless. Talent may open the door, but only discipline will keep you inside the room. It's the builder who keeps laying bricks, even when nobody is clapping, even when the results are invisible, who eventually sees the structure rise. Consistency beats genius when genius doesn't show up. Every builder of success must first become a servant of process. You don't reach the top by aiming at the sky. You reach it by taking the next right step. When you look at those who've accomplished greatness, it's easy to be fooled by the highlight reel. But behind the scenes are years of effort that nobody celebrated. There were times they failed. There were days they doubted. But they kept laying the bricks. And those bricks, laid in obscurity, became the very foundation of their influence. Many people want to leap to the top floor without building the staircase. They want the income without the input, the glory without the grind, the result without the repetition. But that's not how success works. Success is attracted to those who prove they can be trusted with the process. And the process will always test you. It will ask you to sow before you reap, to work before you win, to grow before you gain. It's the proving ground of purpose. If you're waiting for someone to hand you success, you'll be waiting forever. If you're expecting a shortcut, you'll keep running in circles. The truth is, success demands a price. And that price is effort, sweat, focus, sacrifice. It demands you to keep laying the brick even when the weather changes, even when the crowd disappears, even when your hands are tired and your mind is unsure. This is what separates the builders from the dreamers, those who talk from those who take action. Building success also means tearing down what no longer serves your growth. Sometimes you have to demolish comfort, destroy excuses, and remove the weak bricks of old habits that cannot support the weight of your calling. You cannot build a skyscraper of destiny on a foundation of laziness or fear. So you choose to break down what's unstable so that you can rebuild with strength. Success isn't just about construction. It's about correction. It's about aligning every brick with purpose and vision. The act of building will not always be exciting. Sometimes it's slow. Sometimes it's lonely. Sometimes it feels like your effort isn't working. But the brick doesn't ask for applause. The builder doesn't stop for permission. They just keep going because they understand that what they are building is bigger than what they feel. Builders are visionaries in motion. They don't wait for the environment to change. They change in the middle of resistance. Success demands that you think long term. Quick wins fade. Temporary applause dies. But what you build with intention and integrity will outlast the seasons. Builders don't live for today's comfort. They build for tomorrow's legacy. So they show up not because it's easy, but because it's essential. They understand that every day they don't build is a day they delay their destiny. So they push through distractions, they push through doubt, and they keep stacking. Sometimes building success means building yourself first, strengthening your character, sharpening your mind, healing your wounds. No matter how big the dream, if the person holding it is weak, it will collapse under pressure. So the builder works inward as well as outward. They invest in knowledge. They develop habits that last. They create routines that align with their vision, because they know that the most powerful tool in the builder's hand is not the brick, but who they become while laying it. Success is not a monument you visit. It's a structure you construct. And while others are watching and waiting, the builder is working. They understand that every great outcome is made of ordinary steps executed with extraordinary discipline. So they rise and they build. Your destiny is not written in some distant moment of grandeur. It is carved quietly in the daily actions you choose to take or ignore. Most people are waiting for a defining moment, but the truth is your life is defined not by a single event, but by the small decisions you make each day. It's the choices you make when nobody's watching, the words you speak to yourself in the morning, the habits you repeat even when they feel unimportant. These things are not random. They are the blueprint of your future. Every step, no matter how small, is either leading you closer to your purpose or further from it. People often underestimate the power of repetition. The small things feel too simple, too insignificant to matter. But it's not the size of the action, it's the consistency of the action. A single drop of water doesn't seem powerful, but over time it can carve through stone. The same is true for your habits. One small discipline, practiced daily, begins to shift your mindset, your emotions, your confidence, and eventually your entire life. Most overnight success stories were years in the making, shaped by actions that looked meaningless to others. We are creatures of momentum, and daily action is how you build it. Every time you choose discipline over distraction, you are reinforcing a new identity. Every morning routine, every focused hour of work, every healthy meal, every act of courage. It's all part of the architecture of who you're becoming. The compound effect of these daily steps is what separates the ordinary from the extraordinary. Greatness isn't found in loud declarations. It's hidden in quiet obedience to the process. You don't rise to the level of your intentions. You fall to the level of your habits. People say they want a better life, better relationships, better results. But wanting is not enough. The question is, what are you doing every day that aligns with what you say you want? Because if your daily actions don't reflect your vision is just a fantasy. You can pray, you can hope, but until your hands start moving, your life stays the same. There's a quiet discipline in showing up daily for things that no one sees but you. It's not glamorous to write when no one's reading. It's not easy to work out when the mirror shows no change. It's not exciting to study when the results feel far away. But this is exactly where destiny is shaped. In the invisible, in the silent, in the in-between. Because those who master the SMOPs are the ones who are prepared when the big moments come. You cannot expect to stand firm in public if you haven't first trained yourself in private. Small actions are easy to do and easy not to do. That's the trap. Because they're so simple, people think skipping one day won't matter. One skipped workout, one lazy morning, one excuse. But that's how people drift. Not with one big mistake, but with 1,000 tiny compromises. You don't fall off track, you drift off track. And drifting is dangerous because it feels comfortable while it kills your momentum. Staying aligned with your purpose requires deliberate, daily correction. If you want to change your future, change your patterns. You don't need to flip your entire life overnight. Start small. Set your alarm 10 minutes earlier, drink more water. Read a page a day. Send one email. Speak one affirmation. Track one goal, and then repeat it tomorrow. What feels like nothing today becomes everything later. Progress is invisible before it's undeniable. The people who win in life are not always the most gifted. They're the ones who are faithful in the small things. When you take small action every day, you create evidence. Evidence that you are the kind of person who follows through. Evidence that you can trust yourself. And that evidence begins to speak louder than your excuses. Soon, your confidence isn't based on hype, it's based on history. You know who you are becoming because you've watched yourself build it one small step at a time. That kind of belief can't be bought, borrowed, or faked. It has to be earned in the day, to day trenches. The direction of your life bends toward what you repeatedly do. If you're not intentional about your habits, your life will run on autopilot. And autopilot rarely leads to greatness. Excellence must be engineered. And the way you engineer it is through deliberate, repeated, focused action. You won't always feel like it. It won't always be convenient. But it will always be worth it. Because every day that you show up is a vote for the future you want to live in. Discipline isn't about doing one great thing someday. It's about doing one small thing today, then doing it again tomorrow. That's how momentum builds. That's how transformation happens. That's how people rise from average to unstoppable. Not by taking massive leaps, but by taking intentional steps. Small, repeated actions don't just create results. They create the kind of person who can sustain those results. And that is how your destiny takes shape. Discipline is the force that moves you forward when motivation is nowhere to be found. Motivation feels good, it sounds good, and it's often loud, but it's also fleeting. It shows up when things are exciting, when the goal is fresh, or when the atmosphere is inspiring. Discipline, on the other hand, is silent. It's not a feeling, it's a decision. And it doesn't care if you're tired, distracted, uninspired, or overwhelmed. It just shows up again and again. While motivation whispers, maybe later, discipline commands right now. There's a dangerous lie many people believe, that they need to feel motivated to take action. But waiting on motivation is a trap. It keeps people stuck, inconsistent, and unreliable. Discipline is what separates those who start from those who finish. The people who win are not those who are constantly inspired. They are those who keep going when the inspiration has dried up. They understand that the goal doesn't care about how you feel, only about what you do. Motivation gets you to the gym on day 1. Discipline gets you to the gym on day 90. Motivation makes you excited to start a new project. Discipline helps you push through when it gets boring or hard. If motivation is the spark, discipline is the engine. And it's the engine that gets you to the destination. Life will always have moments where you don't feel like it. And if feelings are your master, then your goals are nothing more than fantasies. Discipline gives you an edge because it makes you dependable. And in a world full of people who give up too soon, consistency is a superpower. When people know they can count on you, especially you knowing you can count on yourself, everything changes. Trust is built through discipline. Confidence is built through discipline. Legacy is built through discipline. You don't become powerful by doing things when it's convenient. You become powerful when you do what's necessary whether it's easy or not. There are days when your mind will tell you to quit. Days when your body says it's too tired. Days when the results don't show up fast enough. Discipline is the voice inside you that answers back. Keep going. It's the force that holds your standard when your emotions try to lower it. It's what makes you do the right thing long after the feeling to do it has left. Motivation might help you cross the starting line, but only discipline carries you across the finish line. Discipline doesn't require talent. It doesn't need perfect conditions. It doesn't wait for the mood to be right. That's what makes it so powerful. It's available to anyone willing to take responsibility for their time, their choices, and their energy. The student who studies when others party, the entrepreneur who works when others scroll, the athlete who trains while others sleep, they are not relying on mood, they are ruled by mission. And mission requires discipline. The problem with motivation is that it depends on emotion, and emotions are unstable. One moment you feel unstoppable, the next you feel like quitting. Discipline steps in and says, feelings are temporary, but purpose is permanent. Discipline is what reminds you that your future matters more than your comfort. It forces you to act based on principle, not preference. It puts you in control instead of letting your environment or emotions dictate your effort. When you live with discipline, you no longer need to negotiate with yourself. You don't ask, do I feel like it today? Because the answer doesn't matter. You don't waste time debating what you already decided. The goal is already set. The standard is already chosen. Discipline removes the emotional middleman. It gives you the structure to stay focused, the grit to push through, and the backbone to rise above your excuses. Discipline is a form of self-respect. It's saying to yourself, I believe in my future enough to act like it today. It's showing up even when no one's clapping. It's doing the hard thing, the boring thing, the uncomfortable thing, because you know it's the right thing. While the world chases motivation like a drug, the disciplined are quietly building empires behind closed doors. They're not loud, but they're consistent. They're not flashy, but they're effective. At the end of the day, the difference between average and excellent is not how fired up you are, it's how focused you stay. Discipline is the bridge between intention and impact. It's what makes your commitments real. Without it, your dreams remain distant. With it, you become unstoppable. Motivation may inspire the crowd, but discipline is what builds the champion. Comfort is seductive. It lures you in with ease, tempts you with safety, and promises you peace. But in return, it robs you of progress. It makes you feel good in the moment, while it quietly steals your potential. You were not created for comfort. You were created for growth, and growth requires tension. It requires pressure, discomfort, and sacrifice. The path to greatness does not run through the land of ease. It runs straight through resistance, through challenge, through the places most people run from. Comfort is the silent killer of dreams. When you settle into comfort, you stop reaching, you stop stretching, you stop risking. And the moment you stop doing those things, you begin to shrink. Life is always moving, forward or backward, but never standing still. And comfort convinces you to stand still while time, opportunity, and your own destiny keep moving. Comfort tells you that good is enough, but greatness never lives in good enough. It's found in the uncomfortable conversations, in the extra reps, in the late nights, in the early mornings, in the places where most people quit. People say they want success, but what they often mean is they want success as long as it doesn't hurt. As long as they don't have to be tired. As long as they don't have to be judged. as long as they don't have to change. But greatness is never negotiated on your terms. It demands that you step out of your comfort zone and into the arena. The moment you draw a line and say, I'll go this far, but no farther, that's the moment you decide how much of your potential you're willing to bury. Comfort is where dreams go to die slowly, not in a dramatic explosion, but in quiet compromise. You don't wake up one day and find your potential wasted. It happens through thousands of small decisions to stay safe, to stay quiet, to stay average. And the most dangerous thing about comfort is that it feels harmless. You don't feel the damage it's doing until it's too late. Until the doors are closed, the windows are shut, and you're left wondering what could have been if you had just stepped up. The difference between the person who rises and the one who remains is often not talent, intelligence, or resources. It's the willingness to endure discomfort, to take the hard road, to sacrifice now for something greater later. The road to mastery, wealth, impact, and purpose is paved with inconvenience. It's not supposed to feel good all the time. It's supposed to stretch you. It's supposed to reveal what you're made of. Greatness demands resistance because pressure is what builds power. People admire greatness from afar but reject the process that produces it. They want the crown but not the cross. But you can't have the reward without the refining. You can't have strength without struggle. Comfort will always keep you in what's familiar, but familiarity is not your future. Growth lives in the unknown. Breakthrough lives in the unfamiliar. Every version of yourself that you are capable of becoming is locked behind discomfort. And comfort is the wall that keeps you from reaching it. Comfort whispers, you've done enough. But your calling shouts, there's more in you. Comfort tells you to wait, to rest, to take it easy. But the truth is, ease is expensive. It costs you momentum. It costs you character. It costs you the life you were designed to live. Greatness is not reserved for the few. It's accessible to anyone willing to pay the price. And the first payment is leaving the safety of where you are to step into the challenge of where you're called to be. Your potential is allergic to comfort. Every time you choose ease over effort, you reinforce mediocrity. And mediocrity is not a lack of talent. It's a refusal to endure what's necessary to rise. The world is full of people who almost made it, who almost broke through, who almost lived fully. But comfort convinced them to stop, to settle, to stay. The cost of comfort isn't just missed opportunities. It's the regret of never becoming who you were born to be. Greatness is forged in fire, not the fire of applause or praise, but the fire of repetition, rejection, and relentless pursuit. It's what you do when it's boring. It's what you do when it's hard. It's what you do when no one is watching and everything in you wants to quit. And comfort will always be there, offering you a chair, offering you an escape, offering you a way out. But every time you say no to comfort, you're saying yes to purpose. When you embrace discomfort, you become dangerous. Because now you're not dependent on feeling good. You're driven by purpose. Now you're not waiting for the perfect conditions. You're creating them. Now you're not living reactive. You're moving proactive. And that shift changes everything. The people who rise above, the people who leave legacy, the people who inspire generations, they all made the decision to do what was hard, to walk through the fire, to break out of comfort. Every habit you practice is a vote for the person you're becoming and the future you're constructing. You may not see it in the moment, but every repeated action is laying a brick. One brick might not look like much. One day of discipline might feel small. One moment of focus might feel insignificant, but bricks don't look like buildings until they are stacked one after another with purpose and persistence. And what you're building today through your habits is not just your lifestyle, it's your legacy. Your habits are not isolated behaviors. They are part of a pattern, and patterns always lead somewhere. The question isn't whether your habits are powerful. The question is whether they're moving you in the direction you want to go. Because habits never stay neutral. They are either building strength or creating weakness, either growing discipline or feeding procrastination, either making your future bigger or slowly burying it under a foundation of neglect. Habits are builders. The only difference is whether they're building the life you desire or the one you fear. We tend to look at the big moments in life and think that's where destiny is shaped. But destiny isn't made in the spotlight. It's made in the shadows, in the silence, in the private patterns of your daily decisions. You don't rise to the occasion. You rise to your training. And that training is formed through habits. What you repeatedly do becomes what you instinctively are. Your habits shape your mindset, your energy, your character, and ultimately your capacity to handle the weight of your calling. The person you dream of becoming, stronger, wiser, wealthier, more impactful, will not be built in a day, but they can begin to take shape today, not through a grand gesture, but through a small, repeated discipline. The future you want will not be unlocked by one big opportunity. It will be unlocked by the daily sharpening of your habits. You won't always see progress right away, but just like bricks laid one at a time, the structure will begin to form. The habit becomes the system, and the system becomes the success. Many people live on autopilot, repeating habits they never chose with intention. They were inherited from culture, comfort, or convenience. And then they wonder why they feel stuck. If your habits were installed by default, your future will be too. That's why taking ownership of your habits is one of the most powerful things you can do. You're not just managing your time, you're managing your direction. And the small things you do repeatedly will always outweigh the occasional things you do with intensity. The future is not built on emotion, it's built on structure. And habits provide that structure. Emotion is unreliable. It fluctuates with mood, circumstances, and energy. But habits bypass emotion and allow you to move forward anyway. They make excellence automatic. They remove the friction from doing the right thing and create resistance toward doing the wrong thing. With every repetition, your brain is being rewired, your standards are being elevated, and your potential is being unlocked. Think of every habit as a seed. Some grow into trees of strength, discipline, wisdom, and impact. Others grow into weeds of distraction, laziness, fear, and regret. But make no mistake, something is always growing. Your habits are either nurturing the garden of your greatness or allowing it to be overtaken by mediocrity. The quality of your future depends on which seeds you water. And watering happens not once a year, not once a week, but daily, in the quiet moments when no one else is watching. Habits also serve as the proof of your identity. You can say you want to be healthy, but if your habits don't reflect that, the identity doesn't stick. You can say you want to be successful, but if your daily actions contradict that declaration, your future won't believe you. Real transformation happens when your habits align with your values and your vision. That alignment creates internal congruence. And when you're internally congruent, you become powerful, focused, and unshakable. People often overestimate what they can do in a week and underestimate what they can build in a year. But habits compound. The gym session that feels like it changed nothing today may be the reason you're stronger a year from now. The book you read today may be the wisdom you draw from in a future crisis. The early morning you choose discipline over sleep may become the reason your life expands. Habits aren't about immediate results, they're about cumulative impact, and the impact always shows up eventually. Every habit is a decision to build. You may not see the building yet, but the bricks are being laid. And one day, what felt like small, invisible acts will stand tall as a life of significant strength and success. Your future doesn't need permission. It needs action. And that action is shaped in your habits. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to keep laying the next brick, and then another, and then another. Because what you do daily over time becomes who you are permanently. Confidence is not something you wait for, it's something you build. Too many people are sitting on the sidelines of their own lives, waiting to feel ready, waiting to feel brave, waiting to feel sure. But the truth is, you'll never feel fully prepared for the things that truly matter. Confidence doesn't show up before the action. It shows up because of the action. You don't think your way into boldness. You act your way into it. The courage you're looking for is not found in your thoughts. It's found in your steps. Every time you take a step forward, especially when you're uncertain or afraid, you are proving something to yourself that you're capable, that you can move even when you're nervous, that you can speak even when your voice shakes, that you can stand up even if your knees are weak. And with every action, your inner dialogue begins to shift. The fear that once screamed in your ear starts to fade. The doubt that once paralyzed you begins to lose its grip, because now you have evidence, not just belief. Action is the antidote to overthinking. When you sit too long with your fears, they grow. When you delay too long on your dreams, they decay. The mind is a magnifier. It will make problems seem bigger the longer you stare at them. But action breaks the spell. It moves you from the prison of potential into the process of progress. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be loud, but it does have to happen. Because when you take even the smallest step, you break the lie that said you couldn't. Confidence is not arrogance. It's not pretending you have it all together. It's the quiet strength that comes from knowing you have faced hard things and moved anyway. You build that strength by showing up not once, but again and again. And every time you show up, your confidence becomes less about circumstances and more about character. Less about outcomes and more about ownership. You begin to trust yourself not because everything works out, but because you know you won't quit. The reason so many people feel stuck is because they are waiting to feel ready. But ready is a myth. It's an illusion built on fear. If you keep waiting for the moment when you'll feel perfectly confident, you'll wait forever. Confidence is not a requirement. It's a reward. It comes after the leap, after the risk, after the discomfort. It's the prize you win when you dare to try. And that's what makes it powerful. Because it's not something someone gives you. It's something you earn. The beginning of anything worth doing always feels clumsy, always feels awkward, always feels messy. That's part of the process. You don't get smooth without first being shaky. The gym feels heavy before it feels strong. The words feel jumbled before they feel clear. The camera feels awkward before it feels natural. And the mistake most people make is mistaking that discomfort for inability. But discomfort is not disqualification. It's just the first step in transformation. Taking action, especially when you're afraid, rewires your brain. It changes your internal story. Instead of telling yourself, I can't, you start telling yourself, I did. And that subtle shift has massive consequences. Your identity shifts every time you take a step. Your brain begins to associate effort with progress. And soon, what once felt terrifying becomes familiar. What once felt impossible becomes routine. But none of that happens without movement. You don't become confident by staying in comfort. You become confident by doing uncomfortable things until they're no longer unfamiliar. Confidence comes from building a history of small wins. Moments where you followed through, moments where you kept your word, moments where you acted with courage. You don't need to have it all figured out. You just need to do the next right thing. And when you do, your fear loses strength and your courage gains momentum. Confidence is a consequence of action repeated over time. The people you admire, the speakers, the leaders, the performers, they didn't start confident. They started scared, but they kept showing up. They kept pressing forward. They kept practicing in the shadows until the spotlight felt normal. That's what you're called to do. Show up in the dark until the light no longer blinds you. Keep acting until confidence becomes your default setting instead of your distant dream. It's not about having the loudest voice or the flashiest skills. It's about being willing to act when everything in you says wait. It's about showing up when it's uncomfortable, taking the shot when you're uncertain, and moving forward even if you're not sure where the road leads. Because with every act of obedience to your goal, you build trust. And trust turns into boldness. And boldness turns into confidence. And that confidence, built brick by brick through action, becomes the foundation for everything that follows.